All right, guys, welcome back to the Rick Shiels Golf Show podcast episode. I've just said it and now I forgot.
I'm not going to help you out, unfortunately.
284.
Correct.
I'm your host, Rick Shiels. I'm here with co-host Guy. Matt's on the ones and twos in the background. How are you, pal? Are you good?
I'm good. I've had a haircut, which you know about.
You look like you're on the run from either some sort of military camp,
yes,
or HMS, not HMS, prison, basically.
Prison. HMP. I got this haircut for one reason and one reason only. I wanted to send more people to watch the podcast, not just listen to it. So I thought, what incentive can I have? You won't do your beard.
I mean, I can't believe you went and had a mohawk, a blonde mohawk.
Don't forget the pink bits.
Extreme. It's quite extreme, that.
Yeah, I thought if we talk about my haircut, which cost about 23 quid, small price to pay, admittedly, and we can get some more people who listen to the podcast to go and watch the podcast, well, quid's in.
Should a hairdresser or barber charge in relation to how much hair they cut off?
Yes.
I think they should. I think if they're going to cut a lot of hair off, they can charge more.
I agree.
If they're going to just cut off a little bit, charge less.
The only problem I've got with this haircut, though, is I had the exact same or very similar haircut when I was like 18. And I've noticed now that there's definitely a bit of corners, a bit more, a little bit thinner in the corners, like Mo Salah with his new hair transplant. I think I need that exact bit, just a little bit of cornerage there.
Either colour it in, or join me when I get my hair transplant done. Anyway, I hope everything is good out in the world. I feel like we missed last week, unfortunately. We were travelling. We were jet setting, in fact. We were over, me and Guy. We're over for some meetings over in New York City. What a crazy place.
It is.
We spent most of our time in astonishment of how crazy New York City is.
I've come back with a mild marijuana addiction. Mild, admittedly, but mild.
I'm still high, definitely. Yeah. There is a very strong smell of marijuana.
Yep.
Everywhere.
Yep. And bagels.
Everywhere.
Yep.
And coffee. And you saw a violent crime in a 7-Eleven.
I did see a terrible crime in a 7-Eleven that I filmed. Rather than going in to prevent it, I filmed it for my own use.
Well, you could sell that to like Fox News or something.
I reckon I get 50 quid for that.
The problem is, it probably happens 100 times a day at 7-Elevens.
Yeah, they're rough, aren't they?
There was a few sketchy areas, but apart from that, we had a wonderful trip. We actually visited a couple of golf facilities.
We actually visited 3. So
Let
we went, have a little think.
1, 2, what was the third?
The big shop.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You can have, there's 3.
There's 3.
Where should we start? Which one should we start with chatting about?
So, yeah, we went to New York for a business trip, and it wasn't too much of a golfy trip, obviously, but we thought, let's have a look at how New York, a major city, what the relationship is like with golf, because something, obviously, we have a very similar upbringing, you and me, in terms of how we got into golf and how we play golf, etc. But not everyone has the same. And New York, obviously, the busiest city in the world, but yet there's a massive golf community.
It's not that very. It's quite often you see someone walking down the streets of Manhattan carrying a full set of golf clubs,
and I think that's the perfect place to start. We went to 5-iron golf, not to hit golf balls, unfortunately, but to do a bit of work on our laptops and get a bit of food. And that was my first ever experience in the 5-iron golf. You'd been before, Rick. Tell the listeners, the viewers at home, about 5-iron golf and what our experience was.
I've been to now a number of simulator bars, and I think they range from a lot of different categories now, don't they?
They do.
And some are really, really, really high end. They almost feel a bit too
swanky, a bit bougie.
A bit too swanky and bougie. And you don't feel like you can fully relax, and you feel like, I don't know, you almost, when you hit a golf shot in those really lavish ones, you feel like you're being too loud.
They feel to me like the marketed city workers who are very, very wealthy and affluent, who want to go and try golf for the evening. And it's the golf secondary to the nice drinks.
It is. Bit of cocktails,
yeah,
etc., etc. Then there's other simulator bars, and we've all seen it. We've all been there, which are maybe they were ahead of the time when they first launched, but now they're a bit dated and they're a bit tatty, and you have a rip screen, and the mats are absolutely battered, and the golf balls are horrendous, and you don't particularly get great service. Luckily, I don't see that many of those anymore, but they're definitely one side of the spectrum to the other.
Yeah.
But in this kind of sweet spot now, you've got 3 or 4 or even more kind of types of places popping up. So like Hooked Golf over here in the UK. Yeah. That's kind of like a bit kind of friendly,
sports bar-y.
Yeah, I'd say put it more in the sports bar category. It's not the businessman walking in with a suit.
That's three mates Friday after work. Let's have hit a few balls and get excited for the weekend.
You've got somewhere like Pitch down in London, which again I would say is a little bit more towards the swanky top end.
Yeah,
but it's still nice. It's got a nice atmosphere.
Yep.
We went there a couple of years ago with the full team and had a wonderful evening. Ordered pizzas in and everything. It was great. And then again, I've been to this one in America recently, Five Iron, and I took yourself to the one in New York. I think it's about 4 or 5 of them in New York. That's where it originated from. And I think it's got a really nice blend between sports bar, but things are also premium. Like the screens are premium. They've got Trackmans in there, premium. The golf balls are fantastic. You can leave your golf clubs there. It's not cheap,
no,
as we found out. It's a monthly membership fee, and it's eye-wateringly expensive. To put that into perspective, you could join a really, really top-end golf course here in the UK, couldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
For the same price you would pay for hitting into a simulator screen.
Can you remember the
New
price?
York. It was $375 a month.
Wow.
Now, I think for that, you get unlimited. Do you get unlimited?
I think it's...
was it 90? Was it 90 minutes
90
a day?
90 minutes every day.
Now, that's a lot of practice, granted. But, like, you're putting up, I mean, it's a lot of money. If you think about that, $400, so it's equating to about just over £300. So that's over £3,600 a year. Think about what type of golf course you could join over here in the UK. Yeah. You could join a golf course, a country club, with a gym, with tennis courts, with paddle courts, is now my new addiction. I'll come on to that in a bit. For that same price.
You're right.
But it's New York City.
It's New York City is one massive thing. And to be fair, it was I was super impressed by how many actually bays they had. We went to this kind of main section. I was like, oh, this is cool. You walk down this alleyway, this kind of, not alleyway, what's it called? Corridor, turn left, another 7-8 bays just appeared out of nowhere.
The locker rooms are fantastic.
The locker rooms, and this is a bizarre one, but the toilets as well had this real golf club feel, because not only the toilets were the toilets, there was obviously the sinks, and there was like disposable razors, shaving foam, mouthwash, nice soaps. It really felt like a high-end golf club where you could literally go before work, I think there's showers there, I'm guessing, have a shower, have a shave, get yourself ready, leave your clubs in the locker. It actually felt like you could actually imagine people being members of there and treat it like a real membership community.
I think it opens at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So you could easily go before work and it's open till late. But yeah, we went there. That was our first location.
Yeah.
Then we also visited a golf shop, which was really close to Times Square.
So it's called, mistaken. I had to look before what it was called. Forgotten completely. But ironically, it's just called New York Golf Center.
Brilliant.
I believe. And it's the kind of golf shop that it must make a lot of money to earn, to be able to pay for that rentage of that. It's right near Macy's, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be able to pay to rent that premises, it must be making wedge.
It was 2 stories. I'm sure there's probably even more space for actual storage of equipment. I really enjoyed it in there. There was so many things, and it's a bit of a cliche. I remember years and years and years and years ago, and I'm talking like 20 years ago, if a pal of mine had come back from America and they'd been playing golf, they'd always come back with things that we'd never seen before. And it was almost like it was an alien returning from a different planet, and they come back with all these goodies, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like just daft things like really cool double straps for your golf bags, or caps that you couldn't buy over here, or golf shoes that you can't buy over in the UK. There were just so many things, and I thought, maybe naively, those days were over.
Mm-hmm. The internet's ruined it all.
That's not the case.
Not the case.
In this store in New York, and Americans will probably not realize how lucky they are, there were so many products in this store that I've never, ever, ever seen in any golf shop ever here in the UK.
You know, you're right, there's so many bits, but also as well, I think in the modern era now of retail, when you go to these kind of brick and mortar golf stores that aren't based at golf clubs, a lot of them have become a lot more clinical. You walk in, it's very kind of rigid, and it looks nice, but quite very clinical and organised. What I loved about this golf shop was it still had its little nooks and crannies. You walk around the corner, a little random bit here, a little random bit there.
Which probably makes no financial sense.
But it's great.
But it's also cool.
And then near the till, all little bits of junk. You name it, pink golf balls, green golf balls, random little training aids and little finicky, it's class.
T-peg with a woman in a bikini.
Yeah, 1950s all over again.
But yeah, that was a really cool experience. Just, like I say, you're in the middle of New York, you walk, and it had, even there, it had fitting bays in there, a little bit tired, in fairness to the place. It's obviously been around for quite a long time, but as you said, it must make a lot of money.
It must do. But what I can't quite understand is, if you are based in New York, you'd imagine that you probably are a member of a golf course, you know, not quite in the city where you'd buy your stuff from.
Are you, though?
Well, I don't know. But then equally, if you're a visitor and you might go in as a golfer and buy a nice polo as a bit of memorabilia, I can't imagine you going getting fitted for a set of irons and going back to the UK on your playing with irons necessarily. So I wonder how they do make that money. But they must do.
They must do. I mean, yeah.
Apparel and...
I mean, there was a lot of apparel in there that I've never seen in the UK.
Yeah.
Again, like, feels like, Americans won't know this, but exclusive for the USA market. But that was really, really cool. Really enjoyed it in there. It was busy as well. It was hustle and bustle. It was like it was like a mini New York. You just kind of got in there and it was class. And then the final place we'd been to, and I've been there quite a number of years ago. Have you been visited?
Once, but didn't hit balls there.
We went to Chelsea Pier.
We did.
To the driving range at Chelsea Pier. Mixed thoughts on the place.
Yeah.
Really, really mixed thoughts on the place.
Concept-wise, what it actually is, sell it to me, because it can be sold so easily.
In Manhattan, there is a massive shortage of space.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate is at an absolute premium. Hence, all these huge skyscrapers everywhere, because, you know, there is a huge price on land, on space. Now, down at Chelsea Piers, there are, I don't know how many piers, but along the way, and quite a lot of them have actually collapsed and fallen into the sea now, but there's quite a lot of piers. And one of these piers has been turned into a driving range.
Yes.
It is a netted driving range from the floor up to 200 feet. I don't even know what 200 feet is.
Is it 4 levels high?
Yeah.
And from the top level, you still can't really get a ball over the net.
So it's really, really high netting all the way to the end. It's not a long driving range. It's probably about 210, 220 yards. But you've got this kind of incredible view over the water. There's all these exclusive helicopters flying across. There's big boats. There was like a yacht at the end of the driving range. There's a jetty on the left-hand side where there's more boats being moored.
So you've sold, at this point now, I'm sold.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think when it would have opened, when did it open, guys? Let's find this out.
Well, upon entering, you walk into you kind of go under this like a bit of a car park, and you get to the front, and it's made to look like a golf clubhouse. And if you were a golfer, it feels somewhat familiar, even though it's probably a place you've never been to before. And you walk in, there's like an actual restaurant I think was closed when we went. And then comes the pay booth where you pay for your balls and you rent your clubs if you need to, which we did. We had to rent some. First of all, Rick, can you remember the price? Was it $40, $50 potentially? It was in that vicinity.
I think it was $50
for some clubs to rent.
Well, unlimited balls for 50 minutes.
Right, okay, call it an hour.
So it's unlimited balls, 50 minutes, and about maybe 4 or 5 rental clubs.
It's expensive.
And because we weren't on the top level, we weren't allowed to have drivers.
They knew we'd smash it over.
So I think we were given...
We had a 2 iron.
We had a 1 iron.
Was it a 1 iron?
Yeah, I think so.
1 or a 2?
Callaway Big Bertha. I think it was a 2 iron, actually.
A couple of wedge and a 7 iron or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and then the driving range itself, it's an artificial driving range. It was just a bit tired. It really was. It opened. Have a guess what year it opened?
2005. Complete guess.
It's 10 years old at that point.
1995.
1995.
Wow.
And I must admit, you can tell,
yeah,
can't you now? I feel like it needs a real revamp. Now, I don't know. We were talking about this when we were there. Is there a lease policy that's about to get, renewed? Do they know they've only got that facility for a certain amount of time? Are they going to turn that into some swanky luxury apartments on that pier? We don't know.
Yeah.
But it could just do with a bit of TLC. It's very cool. It's very different. It's definitely worth going to when you're in New York. As the golf shop is 5-iron golf, and there's a few 5-iron golfs as well. And even like where our hotel was, there was swingers, the putting place.
Yep. Yeah, sorry. Yep.
The putting place, which we've got one down here in London as well. Down here in London, we live nowhere in London. In the UK at London as well. But yeah, I feel like it needs a little bit of TLC, a little bit of money spent into
You're
it.
right. And I think what's interesting with a couple of those different places we went to is that 5-iron golf is built upon members. So they have to have great facilities and be really smart to hence keep hold of the members and make a revenue, make money. Whereas Chelsea Piers driving range, although it could definitely do the liquor paint and some TLC.
I think it does have membership.
Oh, okay,
Chelsea
it does.
Piers.
But also, I guess a lot of their revenue, and I might be wrong, comes from people like us, tourists who play a bit of golf, who almost go to get a cool Instagram picture or at least hit a few balls to tick it off the list, which when you're on holiday, $40 or whatever to hit some balls doesn't feel that important, so people just probably pay it. But again, on a broader topic, it's so interesting to see how golf is played and how people like perceive golf in different places in the world and different cities, because although at 5-iron golf they said to us that most of their members are also golfers, obviously on a golf course, clearly they do have some members who are literally almost like indoor members. That is how they play golf. And you think, you know what, as much as for me I'd much rather obviously go outside and play golf, because to me that is golf. Ultimately, if you have a city job and you don't own a car and you can't get out of the city too easily, it's still a great way to feel like you are a golfer.
So good.
They even had on, I don't know if you saw it, Rick, you might have done, on the wall, like course records and stuff. You can actually have a course record, and they have the certain rules that have to be in place. You have to play a certain golf course with certain like wind temperatures and stuff and whatever. You have to have a member of staff watching you to make sure it's all done correctly. But again, if you are a golfer, that would still be quite competitive and something that gives you that reward of, I own a course record at 5-iron golf, or I nearly beat the course record. It still gives you that spirit and that kind of competitiveness to want to go back and get better and play more golf. So you can definitely see how some people would love it.
And again, like I say, we are lucky that we live in the vicinity of so many golf courses. There are people around the world that just don't have that access to them.
You know what's mad though? Having almost done a 180 on what I've just said, in some regard, if I did live in New York, which I could never imagine doing, but if I did, I actually could imagine becoming an indoor golfer. Leaving your clubs there, that's a massive win.
Yeah.
Still having that kind of banter camaraderie with playing partners, having like longest drive, ball speed or whatever, having an actual way of hitting. I mean, you can still know when you've hit a good shot on a simulator, obviously. Having that still, like camaraderie, having a bit of food, having a drink afterwards, getting excited, warming up before a comp. I bet it does still feel like real golf in some way.
You know, it was nice as well, because it's a membership-based facility as well. Is like, I noticed when golfers did walk in, they were always welcomed by their name.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hi, guy, good to see you again.
Yeah.
You're in base 6. Well, I've got your clubs ready. Like, it was a membership type vibe on it, type place. But also Americans do hospitality so well anyway.
They do indeed. Well, nice little segue from that then to America, Rick. We have currently had 2 of your 3 America videos go live, and we've actually not done, I don't think, a podcast since the first one.
No, we've not.
So the first video that went live, which I'm sure, thanks to the viewing figures, a lot of people who are listening and watching this podcast have seen, it was yourself and your friend Grant Horvat. I nearly forgot his name for a second. I was thinking who you played it. Grant Horvat versus Peter Finch and George Bryan versus Wesley Bryan. I would always say Wesley. I'm now a Wesley convert after everyone says it in the videos. Wesley Bryan and Fat Perez in what can only be described as one of our biggest videos ever. And it was an absolute movie.
Well, it was definitely our longest video ever.
Correct.
Over 3 hours long. It was an absolute mammoth task. Well done to all the guys who managed to film the video, to the wonderful team who edited it and put it together. It is without question our longest ever video. And the reason for that is because you had on screen 6 larger than life characters who can all have their own YouTube channels, etc. And just the amount of action that was being captured, not when we were playing golf, was just too good to leave out.
Yeah.
Like all the buggy cams, all the little bit of banter between each other. The fact that when you went to the buggy cams, you kind of got a bit more of an understanding of what the playing partners actually felt like. Did they feel confident? Like me and Grant felt like the underdogs all day. I couldn't wait to watch the video back to see what like George and Pete were saying, or Wes and FP were saying. Like, I feel like it really, out of all the videos that I've ever filmed, that was the one where I felt like I was there, but I also hadn't experienced it all. So even just watching it back, we watched it here in the office and we actually got popcorn in and watched the preview. I was so excited about watching that video because I was like, I want to see what everyone else's reaction was like. And the reaction from you guys, the viewers and listeners, has been incredible, with over nearly 1.6 million views on that video in just over a week. 3,000 comments, 30,000 likes on that video, and genuinely the comments were just really, really positive. From the whole kind of idea of the video, 2 versus 2 versus 2 major, the fact that, spoiler alert, just to warn you, me and Grant played unbelievably good golf considering we were the underdogs, and just the vibes. The golf course gets a lot of love. Selena Golf Club. Obviously, there's been some monster videos from that trip. I was actually counting up yesterday the viewing figures so far from that trip. So Grant released 2 videos. Mm-hmm. Pete so far has released 3.
Yeah.
The Brine Bros released their skins match, which has over 2 million views already. So far, we've released 2 videos. And as of when I counted these figures up a couple of days ago, it was nearly 7 million collective views across all the channels, and we've still got more videos to come.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you kind of really started the kind of golf course vlogging, when it was you and Pete and Carter, Matt Fryer, etc., it's almost done a full circle, because that was kind of 3 parts often. In fact, 6 parts. It'd be 1, 2, and 3 like on your channel, 4, 5, and 6 on Pete's. Which actually, if you added that all up, you'd be looking at about 2 hours worth of content, roughly 20 minutes per video. It was very kind of, yes, it was about the golf, but it was much more around the kind of camaraderie and what was said away from the golf ball. And then that kind of moved away, didn't it? The way that YouTube went, it was very much a case of more like challenge style videos or interesting golf clubs or very high polished videos. And it feels that now it's kind of almost come back, still keeping that really high production value. But so much more of it is about the kind of personality and the camaraderie and the banter, isn't it? I wonder if that'll continue. Will it get, we said this the other day, will it get to 5-hour-long videos? Will it get shorter again? It is ultimately a trend, isn't it? And it's interesting to know what's next for golf and YouTube.
I think there's a little bit of mixture around the length of the video. Certainly when it first came out, a lot of people had mixed opinions, either, oh my God, how am I going to watch this? Or there was quite a lot of people going, wow, you've just sorted my Friday evening out or my Saturday evening. I think a lot of people now digest that content in bite-sized chunks. Yep. They might do half an hour at a time until they complete it. It gives you the option to kind of watch it in times 2 if you wanted to. If you watch it in times 2, it's going to be about an hour and a half long. People do that. I often watch YouTube in times 2. But yeah, it was unbelievable. Loads of great comments. And then the video that went out Friday was me and Pete versus the Brine Bros. Now, it's been really good time at the moment because Wesley Bryant in particular we'll come on to kind of his pathway a little bit. He's been playing a lot of golf on the PGA Tour the last few weeks, which we'll come on to in a minute. But like, he's an unbelievable golfer, and so is George, his brother. Like, arguably George is better, which doesn't quite make sense. Just Wes has that bit in between his teeth that helps him compete at the highest level. So that was a great match where me and Pete took on them two. And then the final video, which is coming this Friday, Fat Perez unfortunately had to leave early. So then 5 of us left, and I set the guys a challenge. Could we birdie every single hole on the golf course? And if we didn't birdie it, we'd have to go all the way back to tee and play that hole again.
As a scramble?
As a scramble.
Wow.
5-man scramble. We had to birdie every single hole on the golf course. If you didn't birdie it, you'd have to go back to the tee. And we were running out of time. It was getting dark quick. So that video is coming out Friday, which I think is going to be, it's absolutely hilarious. The speed we shot that video, I don't want to give too much away. In parts, we were running around the golf course. It was unbelievable. Really, really good fun.
Before it went dark.
That's what we were trying to do. We were trying to beat the light. So that video is coming out Friday. And I think that might be the end of the content. A video that's definitely worth checking out on Pete's channel. Me, Pete, Grant Horvat went 18 holes, stroke play, head to head to head. Because a lot of talk at the moment, a lot of smack talk, that I'm only good in skins challenges. Yes, okay, I won a decent amount of money. Or I'm only good in match play, or I'm only good in better ball. Well, this was stroke play. So go and check out Pete's video to see what the result of that video. And I think hopefully I proved a lot of doubters wrong.
Speaking of kind of YouTube and YouTube content and how kind of our content's evolved and kind of sometimes goes 360, and we have been pumping out a lot of videos on the Hit channel. So I'm sure a lot of people who are listening and who are watching are aware that your channel now, where you do all your reviews, Rick, is the Hit Golf channel. So literally go into YouTube and search Hit Golf. You will find an abundance of reviews, some really kind of authentic products that you will want to look at and see if they're any good for you and for your game. And certainly with this new season approaching now, we're going to be having a lot of the big dogs on there. You name it, from the big brands, the drivers will feature on that channel. We also go down the route of a bit more kind of gimmicky clubs that are kind of interesting, intriguing inventions. I think, Rick, it has to be said that in your 12 or so years of reviewing golf clubs, kind of impartially, giving the pros, giving the cons, and highlighting where clubs need to improve, I would argue that the video that went live the most recently, which was titled, honestly, the weirdest golf club ever tested, is maybe the most brutal review you've ever done. It's up there. For good reason, I must add.
Now, like I say, now we've got the hit channel. There is definitely an influx of all different types of golf club makers getting in contact, wanting us to review their product. And we always go back with, we'll review it. It's on our terms, or send the product. We won't guarantee whether we review it or not. Depends if we find it interesting. That's the truth. We try and review everything, but the amount of stuff we get sent, we just literally can't review everything. So there's always a caveat. Listen, we'll review it. It's on our terms. You don't get to see it beforehand. We're going to give an honest opinion. It's kind of down to you whether you want to send your product or not. And this particular brand, this particular putter got sent, and it was
called Zenturion.
Zenturion. And the idea was, it was the lightest putter ever made. Now, as soon as I even heard that, I was like, okay, why? What's the value? And it claimed to be really, really, really good on fast greens. Now, our putting studio in the hit studio is a fast putting green. I've got to say, it's the worst putter I've ever used in my life. Like the very first, I mean, it's so light. You can never understand that on video, and actually I've teased a few people when I've shown it them, like this last few weeks, where I've picked up and gone, oh god, this putter's the heaviest putter ever. Passed it to them, and they've literally, it's like this putter like levitates because they think it's gonna be heavy, yet it's so outrageous light, isn't it, guy?
It's crazy. It is. It's like a plastic putter that a kid would have,
but it doesn't look
it. It doesn't like it. No, it's a full size putter,
and you just move it away, and it just wobbles and it moves and it deviates. It just feels like there's no control whatsoever. I reviewed it. I was brutal because because it's expensive. It's not like it was a startup. This thing is being sold to customers.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I'm sure Ben won't mind me saying, but Ben, who does the podcast with us, is actually not in the room right now. He's getting the hit studio ready, ironically, for some filming. And he's taken a bit of a lead recently of planning the videos, kind of working with myself on what you're going to be reviewing, Rick. And often you go in there without much insight. You get prepped on what the clubs are. And so like a putter, you just kind of go in and review it sometimes it's as it is. And it's really good for the video because it shows your kind of natural first reactions. And we do some testing off video as well that you don't see to kind of keep the video somewhat snappy. But Ben, kind of bless him, after the video, he kind of said, I feel a bit like, how did he word it now? He realised that the review was completely fair, but it was obviously a negative review. And he said to me, I kind of feel almost a bit bad for the brand in a sense of they've obviously made a club that isn't that great. And we've said it's not that great. And I said to him, but that's the thing why these reviews have to be impartial, because yes, it might feel a little bit harsh on the brand, but we have to think of the consumer and the viewer. Like if you didn't test that club fairly and just said, oh yeah, it's all right, it's quite good, and then 1,000 people or 100 people or 10 people or even one person went to go and buy it off the back of that when actually the club's rubbish, someone's wasted their hard-earned cash. So although Ben completely got this, by the way, and it's just kind of one of those things, you have to be as brutal as possible, because yes, it might, upset these brands and they've invested a lot of cash, which is their prerogative. But we have to be honest, and ultimately you have to be honest to the audience that you've built.
I actually think the price has come down. I just checked the website. The
really?
price has come down. I mean, it's €449 now. I'm sure that's cheaper than what I said in the video. Yeah, it's a bit silly. And listen, if to some degree as well, I think this is a new company. It's a individual out in Germany. I almost wanted to tell them, don't keep wasting money into this, because it's like it's too much. This is they've knocked 25% off everything.
Wow.
On the website.
You know as well though, and this isn't a black and white statement because it wouldn't be true to say, but I would say that the vast majority of innovations, that come out, the big brands will have tried these things before. You've got TaylorMade, you've got Callaway Odyssey, Scotty Cameron, all these big putter brands. They will have messed with everything you can think of: heavy putters, long putters, short putters, light putters, all these different combinations. And what they think works and what proves on, statistically to work, they will release and try and sell. Of course they will. When some of these smaller brands come out with some crazy innovations, sometimes they can work, and it could be that small brand is really onto something. But a lot of the time, it's people trying that look, isn't it? Like that white driver he did recently was made out of the same material as a golf ball, that urethane driver. It was garbage. And it's like, if there's any science behind that, a TaylorMade would have done it by now, as would a Callaway. So often, not always, but often with these smaller brands that have really, really outlandish innovations, they just don't work.
I just realised on his website, he's made 10 notes about my putter video.
Oh, really? What's the actual website? Is it Zenturion?
Zenturion Golf.
I find it really hard to find because it keeps me up with Zenturion, the golf course.
So he's accused me of being sponsored by another brand.
Okay. Which, has he said a brand? Or?
No. Well, he's put the
Where's
test
this? On the homepage.
Yeah, go right down to the bottom of the homepage.
Oh no!
Why
have they done this?
The test video on YouTube. Please note the following points. He knew the reason why the putters were light, I'm not going to read everyone actually. Yeah. There's one here. The thread had obviously been broken beforehand. You can see it in the close-up before the test. So on that, the close-ups were filmed after the testing, so that would make sense. The grip was not supposed to be perfectly straight.
It was naive to send him these putters because the reason why they were requested is obvious.
We didn't request them.
What the hell?
He sent them to us. We didn't request them. I enjoyed watching the channel myself, and I've never seen anything like this from him. I can live with an honest opinion. I can fully respect that. You can feel uncomfortable with it, and you may not like the design or the price. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, it's something he has to sort out with his own conscience or whatever he believes in. It was terrible. The putter was terrible. Oh my goodness. Anyway.
You know what? Everyone. You know what though? I don't say I feel sorry for these people because that's almost patronising, but these people obviously believe in what they've done. Some people, like the hammer driver, are trying to say, they're literally trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. They're just making a stupid novelty product, selling it like it's Jack and the Beanstalk, selling the beans, and it's just nonsense. Some people, and I guess this person in question, I actually don't know the person's name, but they must genuinely believe they have made a product that works, and they've obviously invested a lot of their own money. They might have investment to make something possible. And you know what? Fair dues. I wouldn't know where to start making a golf club and how you do that. But they get so invested in it naturally and understandably so, that then if you do critique it in any way, shape or form, it's often very hard for them to actually accept that criticism, isn't it? Because they genuinely believe it. So
he thinks I'm eliminating a competitor on the market. You think that's why I've slagged off the putters? I'm there to eliminate a competitor.
But there's no benefit.
I'm not bothered. Not signed by the putter brand.
You used indie wedges before, who were a very unknown brand, who you tried them out, actually liked them, and put them in the bag for a few months afterwards because they were good, and that was an unpaid endorsement, and just literally endorsing a product because you believed it was good. Anyway. It's difficult. Anyway, I have a question, Rick, from Peter Garcia. You've got Tiger Woods, Tommy Fleetwood and George Bryant all tied for the Open Championship. Who do you want to win in a playoff hole?
Tommy Fleetwood.
That quick? I think I'd agree. Would it be George next, or do you want... Would George be offended if you put him bottom of that three, or would he understand?
If Tiger was on for breaking Jack's record, if this was the major that got him to win Jack's record, then yes, it'd be Tiger. How many is he 3 off now, Jack's record? He's got 15 ante, Jack's got 18.
Yes.
He has to win 4 more.
4 more.
Yeah, I'd go Tommy. Depends on Tiger's situation. Tiger and then George.
I've got a question from an email. So, by the way, we have had some amazing emails sent in. By the way, I'd do the same. And please feel free to email us. It's podcast@rickshiels.com. And this is from a guy called Zach. And I've only realised since flagging this to read out that he's actually put hi Rick and Grant. So not Rick and Guy, Rick and Grant.
Oh, did we not? We're setting up a new podcast.
All right.
Me and Grant. Oh, no, we're not setting up a new one.
Pathetic.
Grant, come on in.
Howdy, Rick.
Pathetic the Perrier. Okay, so it's quite a long question, Rick, but please bear with me. First of all, loving the podcast, keep up the great work. Well, that would really mean something, that, Zach, if you'd have got my name right. I don't have to bleep that. That was kind of done under my breath, Matt. Anyway, it says, my name is Zach, and I'm writing to gauge your opinion on what, to me, seems an unnecessary barrier for making golf accessible. Okay. I am a keen golfer, but quite infrequent, and I'm trying to play more often, especially as the game is something that my dad and my brothers also enjoy. They are all members of golf clubs, so one way we try to make sure to meet up is by organising family golf tournaments at each other's home courses. These are low stakes, it's meant to be very fun, and a great way to ensure we meet up on a regular basis. The next one is going to be at my dad's golf course, which is not very far from me, but quite a long way for one of my brothers, who's based in London, and one's based in Nottingham, etc. For various reasons, it isn't viable for him to bring his golf clubs down, so we're looking at options for providing him a set. So, my uncle and I, who are both playing the golf day, are both left-handed golfers. So the pool of available golf clubs to hire at courses close to us is very low. I emailed ahead at my dad's golf club, as well as 3 or 4 other golf clubs close to the location, and none of them had any left-handed golf clubs available. I therefore inquired as to whether any of these courses would be okay if we shared a set of clubs, since I can provide my own. So basically, get this, Rick. There's the guy who's going with his left-handed clubs. His uncle, who's also left-handed, is travelling up from London, but can't bring his golf clubs. So they said, well, let's just try and share. Unsurprisingly, all the golf clubs said, no, you can't share. I can understand why a golf club would not want you to share a set when playing a tournament, but why are clubs so inflexible about sharing a set if you've made inquiries about hiring clubs and been told, in this case, there's no left-handed available, ahead of time, and we're playing in a social event rather than competitive? On this occasion, we're going to split up my set into 2 halves and have 2 separate bags. So the guy that is local has got his left-handed clubs. He's got 2 bags, luckily. So we're going to put half in one bag, half in the other. Therefore, him and his uncle have got a half set of clubs each. This is only possible, though, because I have a spare bag. I'm in a somewhat privileged position, but not many new golfers have got, obviously, 2 golf bags. We have tried quite hard to seek out alternative options, so it's been quite disappointing to come against a lot of what feels like avoidable resistance. Very keen to hear your thoughts and to get a better understanding of why golf clubs are so reluctant to allow any exceptions to club sharing. Cheers, Zach.
A lot to unpack there. First off, Zach, thanks for listening to the podcast and being such a big fan.
Of you and Grant.
Go
and marry Grant if Grant's so good.
There's been 284 episodes that we've done. Me and Grant have really worked.
What's Grant got better than me? Yeah, he's good at golf. Yeah, he's got amazing teeth and he's about 6'2" with a great golf swing.
He's not got eyebrows.
He's not got eyebrows. I've got 2.
He'd want your
yeah, I've got 2. I've got a spare one, if anything.
Let's first off unpack the reasons why golf courses don't like club sharing.
I know one. That's it.
Well, yeah, it's quite simple to save time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had 2 of you out on the golf course and you were sharing 1 bag of golf clubs, if one of you went right, one of you went left, imagine the fact that you'd have to go over to the left with 1 bag and then go over to the right with the other. Certainly if you're walking. I think if you're in a golf cart, maybe it's a bit of an exception, but if you're walking, it can definitely slow down play. And it's just maybe just a bit untidy. Like, it's just a little bit messy when you've got people, certainly on the putting green, you hit a putt, then what have you got to do? Run over to your mate and give them the putter, and then they've got a putt.
And also, let me one up you. You're saying that in a 2-ball situation. Let's say a golf club said that was allowed. What if I come with a 4-ball and there's only 1 set of clubs? Correct. That time then gets times by 4.
So I think, if anything, that golf clubs are just trying to protect themselves. They're not trying to be funny with it. They don't, it's not like they're trying to sell you a set of golf clubs. I think it's just a fair rule to keep the speed of play to a consistent level, and it's not as messy where you're kind of chucking clubs to each other and swapping, etc., etc. So I think to some degree that's the reason why golf clubs do it. To go back to your point, I think you've done a really good job of just splitting the set. That was my instant reaction when you started talking about it. Just split the set. Your uncle has the evens. You have the odd clubs. Ideally, you could do with a couple of putters, but you can kind of get away around it.
Got a question for you, Rick. In this instance, Zach has got 2 golf bags.
Exactly. If you've not.
If he had 1 golf bag but still split the set, do you think a golf club would have an issue with his uncle carrying 4 clubs in his hand?
Yeah.
They would do.
Yeah. I think you'd need a bag.
I get that, but why, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe, again, it's that kind of image. Like, do you want people just kind of carrying a few clubs around? You did get that with a pitch and putt, but I've never seen it at a proper golf course.
You know what? Although I do actually agree with you, the image thing, is that something, again, where it's golf being snooty? Like we say, image. What is actually wrong with somebody carrying 5 clubs in the hand?
Don't know.
I agree with you, by the way. It does look weird, but then golf clubs is that not being accessible?
Yeah, possibly.
Could be a time thing as well, though. Because if you've got all the clubs in your hand, you're just walking around with them, you're going to have to keep picking them up and putting them back down.
That's minimal, surely.
I don't know. I don't know.
And then what else we got? The fact that clubs don't have left-handed clubs to hire, that's a bit of a shame. But to some degree, I can imagine that's quite common for a lot of places, really. What else was there? That's pretty much it.
Do you think, then, a question for you, a bit broader, kind of expanding on this? I am definitely in favour of golf being as accessible as possible because I genuinely want more people to love golf because I feel like I somehow own a bit of golf because I played it all my life, even though I clearly don't. And I feel proud of
in golf.
3%, but it's not a lot. The dividends are great, though. However, do you think, truthfully, hand on heart, we are a little bit snooty in ourselves? Like, to your point then about the bag, I agree with you. If you didn't have a golf bag, I wouldn't be super keen. But it doesn't really matter. And same like dress. If my local golf club said, we're tomorrow dropping dress code, completely dropping it, would I literally like it if I saw people playing in a full football kit, for example?
But is that our fault? Or has that been ingrained?
Oh, I'm not saying it's a fault of such. I'm just saying, are we actually deep down part of the problem that we don't even realise?
Is that not just a bit ingrained, though, to some degree? I think that would take hundreds of years to get past.
Possibly would.
Because it's so ingrained in us.
But that's what I'm saying, though. So how do we...
But I can't wait to become a 70-year-old member.
And moan at people.
I can't wait.
You'll be like, take your hat off in the clubhouse. Say, hello, Mr. I'm not Rick, I'm Mr. Captain.
Can't wait.
Clicking some waitress clicking.
Oh, don't get on the waitress things
yeah.
again. Jesus, that's still a subject for some. I don't know.
But this is the thing, isn't it? It's like I 80% I'm like, let's make golf more accessible, and 20% of me like, get this bloody cat on in the clubhouse, cheeky bastard. You know what we used to have at my golf club that I'm sure many do that was so weird, and it's gone now, I believe. A captain and lady captain's chair.
Yeah.
So underneath the board where all the captains were listed in like 8 years, obviously, or whatever, they had 2 big leather chairs that ironically the captains never sat in, which is in a weird spot that we would never sit. You weren't like, you dare sit on them. You sometimes get, because above our golf club, the next level up was a restaurant that was obviously attached, it was part of it. And you'd get people who had nothing to do with golf coming to the restaurant for Sunday dinner, for birthdays, for whatever it might, christenings. And occasionally they'd come down to the clubhouse bit and get a drink before the meal or whatever. And they'd often not have the right attire on, and all the members would look at each other. And my mum would be part of this, but look, he's got bloody jeans on. See him, Linda, he's got jeans on. He's got jeans on. And then occasionally you'd get someone who, what a cheeky person would sit on the captain's chair. And the worst one as well of all, where you'd borderline get spat on, was when a visitor who was going for a meal upstairs would dare walk into the members' lounge.
Oh, really?
Oh, if they dared, it would all go quiet. It would go quiet. Yeah.
Is that the same person who parks in the captain's car park spot?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Jordan's a car park spot right out front here.
Yeah.
And straight in.
and then actually I've got one more that's even the worst of the worst. This is the absolute top one. You walk into the golf club, you're going from the meal upstairs. You've got jeans on, you've got a shirt untucked and trainers. That's 3 sins straight away. You then stroll into the members' lounge. Obviously, you're not a member. Another sin. The final nail in the coffin. You go onto a snooker table. You're not a member. How dare you be on the snooker table, which is in the members' lounge, and you don't put 20p in the light.
I just play
lightless. Play, yeah. You've literally then, you may as well get shot. The members are looking at you, whispering. You can feel the tension. cut it with a knife.
Like,
But yeah, make golf more accessible.
I think
lightless snooker table. That's
yeah.
I mean, that's low, that
is awful.
I think there's two things here, right? There's a fun story I want to tell you in a minute, which will probably rile a lot of people up again. That's what I'm here for at the moment. The first one is there a little bit in us, and I'm not saying this is the right thing, is there a little bit in us that thinks, yeah, but we've been through those hard days
of learning and
like we've been through you have to wear the right clothing, you have to take your hat off, you have to say Mr. Captain. Like we've
paid our dues.
But then is there a bit of resentment if that all gets dropped? It's like, well, the hell, we had to do that for the last 20 years.
I think
is there a bit of resentment?
I think you're right. I think if you were young, like again, we had similar experiences. I think there is. I think there definitely is a bit of that.
Where it feels like, and again, you could even fast forward that to the grumpy 70-year-old is even thinking, bloody hell, even more resentment. Because remember, back in the day, certainly when we were younger, you as a junior, were you allowed to win men's competitions?
So we could only enter them if you're off single figures. That was the first
But there's rules, weren't there?
Yeah. And then you could win certain ones, but not others.
So going back, those rules were set by these 70-year-old members who, let's be honest, those 70-year-old members, when they were under 18, they couldn't be a member of that golf club.
No.
So it's almost like, is there this ongoing slight resentment that just keeps getting knocked on?
Yeah, there must be. So
I'll tell you this funny story. So was it this year? I played in Dan Walker and Danny Willett's golf day.
The two Dans.
Danny Willett from BBC, Channel 5 fame.
Is he?
Channel 5 News now.
Danny Willett, yeah.
Danny Walker. Dan Walker.
And he does Classic FM.
and then Dan Walker, the Masters champion.
And Danny Willett, the Masters champion. So I got invited to their golf day, and it was over in
Rotherham, wasn't it?
Somewhere like that, right? Beautiful golf course, actually. So I was driving in, and it was busy. Shotgun start, and it was busy. And lo and behold, I was running late, right? And it was at the time where my beautiful Mercedes car I drove over a nail.
I thought you said I'm a beautiful wife, but you went with the route of my beautiful Mercedes car.
I drove over a nail a couple of days before.
Yeah.
So the wonderful people at Mercedes had looked after me with a courtesy car. Now, you knew what that courtesy car was. It was a G-Class Mercedes in this kind of like amazing grey colour. So for you cool kids, a G-Wagon, right? So you got 38-year-old dad of three driving a G-Wagon into this golf day.
Acon bopping.
And it's loud. Like, this car's loud, right? So I'm driving up the driveway, and it's a one-way, one-out driveway. And as I get to about halfway, a car rolled its window down. It was actually, ironically, a Tesla. Rolled its window down and said, it's really, really busy. I know that the captain's away this week, parking his spot. Right? So I go, great, thanks for that advice. Appreciate that. So wind the window up. So I'm driving along, and there's literally, the car park is rammed. Like, people are parking everywhere. As I drive up, lo and behold, the captain's space is free. So I think, well, sod it. He told me that the captain's away this week. So I pull in my grey G-Wagon, with the music blaring, and it's loud. This car's loud. Straight into the captain's spot.
Did you not turn the music down at this point and we're still blaring?
Yeah, a little bit blurry. I wanted to show people I'd arrived. So I parked into his captain's spot, not particularly very straight. Got out of my car. The evils I got. And actually the guilt I felt. I felt so guilty. I felt like I'd literally parked. I felt like I parked in a disabled spot.
But is that because you parked in the captain's spot, or is it because you come into a golf club car park with music blaring in a G-Wagon?
I wasn't. The music wasn't really blaring. No, the fact I've pulled into a captain's spot.
Yeah. It
felt like I was doing something really bad. You know me, I love parking on double yellow lines. That's like my little fetish. Sometimes I'll park in a kid's spot without a kid. No, I actually never do that. That's sacrilege. I know other people have done that.
I do it occasionally.
No, I never.
But I've got a child seat in the car now, so I always think if someone says to me, "Go pick my daughter up," Tesco, done a shift.
I never, ever park in disabled spots ever. But this felt like I literally drove in it, and I felt like I'm doing something.
What if
really
the captain's
wrong
disabled?
Here. Well, he wasn't there. He was on holiday. So I got out and I'm getting my and honestly, the looks of everyone was looking at me and I'm thinking, I'm doing something really naughty here. So I left. I played in the golf day, this, that, and the other. And then after the golf day, I realised I was still parked in the captain's car parking spot, obviously. But I thought, I wonder how many people think the captain's well cool at this golf club. They're rocking a G-Wagon. So I think I actually did the captain a bit of street credit that week.
It is a strange concept, though, isn't it? The captain. Imagine going to the gym and walking in and there'd be some massive steakhead, something. That's Mr. President. You can't go on his bench press. That's the president's bench press. And he's got his own car parking space, the big Subaru Impreza in it. Can you imagine?
You know, there's a cool thing at golf club, St. Anne's Old Links. And each year they raffle off a parking spot.
Yes, I've heard
the raffle.
That's brilliant.
So you get your name pulled out.
I love that.
Whoever gets name pulled out has a parking spot for the whole year.
But if that was 30 quid a head or 20 quid a head, whatever it might be, that's worth it, isn't it? That little, getting that space for the year.
It's
literally
so
money
good.
can't buy. Yeah.
Sorry,
I've had another email, Rick, and this time it is from Michael. I was just reading if he said I can't say his name anywhere, but I'm going to say it's Michael because his name is Michael. And it started off with an amazing subject line. I'm the worst golfer alive. Help. I thought, well, is this off Rick Shiels? No, sorry, it's off Michael. It says, I don't know what to do, Rick.
I'm the best golfer in the world right now.
In this room right now, I'm current form.
And putters.
Irons and putters. Yeah.
Irons and putter.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. Go on.
So, I don't know what to do. After many years of watching YouTube golf channels and taking on tip after tip and performing drill after drill, I have finally completely broken my golf swing.
Ouch.
Now, already there's a bit of alarm bells here.
Stop watching.
Let me just caveat before we read any more. Golf, and I'm sure you'll echo me here, Rick. Golf YouTube tips, which you've done many, many, many of, are a great starting point for people who are new to the game or can't have lessons or whatever. Just want a little quick insight into how the golf swing kind of works and the mechanics. It's probably not advised that you subscribe to a channel like a Danny Maud or a Rick Shiels or Me and My Golf and follow every single video in a row and try and do what they're doing because it's going to fry your head, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
So anyway, it says I've broken my golf swing. 2 weeks ago, I shot 87. I was feeling really good about my short game. My short game was electric. Okay, so 87.
I'm sorry to hear you shot an 87.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry.
Yesterday, I played in a work event where I shot 126. It was my worst round since my early teens. Now, to be honest with you, my first thought to Michael here, and massive kudos, was if you're capable of shooting 87, so you're breaking 90, and the next week, whatever, you shoot 126, fair play for not NRing and just ripping up your scorecard, because that's something, I'll be honest, I probably would have done. 100%. So fair dues that you grinded it out and actually got a score. So that's something that you should be proud of. My driver has been a problem for years. I've gotten to the point now where I never take it out of the bag, so I'm constantly starting out 30 to 50 yards short of where I should be. Again, I can resonate with that massively. When I then lose my short game or have a bit of a bad iron round, my scores are so bad that I'm not only hitting it shorter off the tee, I'm then struggling and obviously hence shooting these high scores. Here's my question though. How do I fix it? How do I deconstruct my golf swing to its natural rhythm and mechanics and start rebuilding? Or do I just quit? I have a full-time career, a wife, and 3 children, so I don't have tons of time to play or practice. I was going to say, the more and more I read this. So I don't have time for tons of practice.
In a captain's parking spot at a charity golf day.
Can also work on dry swings. I'm guessing it just means swings at home. Thanks for doing all you do for golfers. I also have a YouTube channel with 2.9 million subscribers. No, I'm joking. So basically, Michael, he has butchered his golf swing, Rick. He's watched too much. He's in his own head. What does he do? Does he quit? Does he have lessons? Does he watch more YouTube, watch less YouTube? Tell him what to do.
He watches more YouTube. First off, I want to apologise to you, Michael, for everyone who makes YouTube coaching videos. It's, I mean, to be honest, it's a tale longer time. Is that the saying?
Old as time.
Old as time. You go back to even golf magazines. If you bought 3 or 4 golf magazines, there would be 200 tips in those golf magazines, and sometimes they conflict each other. Sometimes they don't have the same philosophies or the same ideas of a golf swing. And if you took on all that information, I can understand why it would absolutely frazzle your brain. And for some individuals, and when I was coaching full time, I remember having individuals that come in for a lesson and they'd have an iPad with I've managed to summarize my swing thoughts down to 22 swing thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'd look at it and go, oh my goodness. And they had an iPad with all of these notes on. So you kind of scratch it. I almost like would delete that note and go, right, let's stop and let's start again and give you some bases of things to work on. So my advice for you, Michael, is genuinely, and I don't say this to a lot of people, stop watching golf coaching videos for a period of time. Like, stop watching completely. Go and find a golf coach that you can work with, and it doesn't have to be someone outrageously expensive, and you can have a lesson every maybe 6 weeks.
Is that your phone or Matt's? I can hear something like...
Where's that come?
What are you watching on your laptop?
Where's that come from?
What?
I've got nothing open.
You must have.
I didn't touch anything then.
Have you got any internet tabs open?
I've got YouTube open, but that's it.
Okay.
But that doesn't just start playing random music
by Eminem.
That was a tune. Anyway, find a coach every 6 weeks. Go and have a little tune up. Think about 1 or 2 things that you can improve on in your own golf swing that's bespoke to you, and then just focus on that.
Yeah, you're right. And I think as well, something that we touched on a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's key to bring up in this situation here with Michael, is he said he went from 2 weeks ago shooting 87, right? And then 2 weeks later, he shot 126. Okay, so there's a big difference there. One thing we mentioned a couple of weeks ago was Paul Waring, who won in Abu Dhabi. And bearing in mind, he won that a week, so he was playing obviously great golf. His round 2, he shot a 61. And his round 3, the very next day, so not even 2 weeks later, the very next day, he shot 73, which is roughly about 20% increase in score. So I think that the percentage that Michael's talking about is a little bit more, but not much more, about 25% more increase, 30% increase in score with 2 week gap. Now, if you're doing that with having 3 children, a full-time job, if tour pros at the top of their game can go Friday to Saturday, a 20% increase in score, surely us mere mortals can do the same, if not more. Yeah. So I think that's something I'm really trying to drill down on. I know I'm no golf expert and certainly not a golf coach, but to people listening and stuff, certainly if you are a casual golfer, the best players on the planet can do things like that. They go one day, the next day, and the score can be so different. Of course, we can do it if we had 2 weeks off and hit no balls and had a busy life in between. So I think we're too easy to judge our bad rounds, aren't we? And almost forget that an 87 was like, how do you look at quitting when you've had an amazing round 2 weeks earlier?
Yeah, you can't. Should we talk some actual golf?
Oh.
This weekend had a lot of different golf events on. Some way more important than others. So first off, it was the RSM Classic,
Rick Shiels Media
Classic at Sea Island Golf Club in Georgia. It was a important event, not because of the winners so much, but from this top 125 players make it to get a PGA Tour card next year. And it was a real mixed event. Like, Joel Damon seemed to come out of it unbelievably well. He actually managed to qualify, where someone like a Wesley Bryant, obviously we spoke about a lot on this podcast, narrowly missed out and ended up not getting a full exempt PGA Tour card for next year. So that's a real shame, but it was very much on that kind of cut number. A new superstar was born. Well, he was born 22 years ago, but a new superstar was born. Elvis Smiley. What a name. What a name. So the Australian PGA Championship, which is at Royal Queensland Golf Club in Brisbane, it was only 3 rounds, so it was 54 holes, which actually suited a couple of the live players because Cam Smith did really well and came second. Mark Leishman also did really well. But Elvis Smiley.
What a name.
Seriously. What is that? It's an unbelievable name. He took victory. First victory, and what's going on here? I just had the page up now, I've lost it. First victory for the 22-year-old. I don't know a great deal about him, if I'm honest. I know he's fairly tall, he's very slim build, and he's obviously a player.
Yeah, and just go on, sorry.
Do you need an outlandish name to be the best player in the world?
Thinking now.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Elvis Smiley.
Scotty Scheffler. Rory McIlroy.
Maybe not.
No, I'm saying they are.
All right, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. Even David Duval has got a bit of swag to it. But Greg Norman.
Yeah, but he was the Shark.
Because if you've not got an exciting name, if you're called John Smith,
you come up with this big name. John Smith not a pint of bitter?
Yeah, the bitter man. The beer man.
Anyway.
Yeah. One thing we didn't touch on this weekend, but obviously didn't do a podcast last week, was obviously the race to Dubai kind of finished up, and Rory obviously dominated. But the reason I thought this was the PGA Tour cards got handed out to the top 10 who weren't already exempt on the DP World Tour. And Tom McKibben, who we've mentioned many times on the podcast, has got his tour card, which is amazing. He'll obviously be playing in America this next year. Matteo Manacero was one of the guys who got one, who has come back amazingly. It's great to see him doing so well. And again, Paul Werman, who mentioned 2 minutes ago, who had that amazing week in Abu Dhabi, has got a PGA Tour card. So, as well as the other guys who've got one, but amazing time in their careers to be going onto the PGA Tour. And I think what feels crazy for these guys is you can go from being a relatively kind of run-of-the-mill name, no disrespect, on the DP World Tour, have a couple of good events, get your PGA Tour card. If, and it's big if, but if you have a few good weeks on there, suddenly you become like a household name in the world of golf, like a Bob McIntyre now, etc. It can be crazy. So good luck to those guys.
Yeah, it's a real shift in mentality, I'm sure, when you're playing against, the caliber of players that will be on PGA Tour week in, week out. But it's a step up that I'm sure a lot of those guys are excited about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's it.
Was there any more from this weekend? Any more golf? I didn't really watch anything.
Well, the only other news was, and I don't know loads and loads about it. In the third round of the Link Hong Kong Open, Patrick Reed shot a 59.
Wow,
second player in Asian history to do so. But I don't know a lot about the rest of the event, really. I know it was an Asian Tour event, which was linked with some qualifying aspects for the LIV as well. But obviously, there's a lot of golf happening towards the end of the season.
Can I tell you a fact that people think I'm crazy? I would rather have shoot a 59 than 58. I don't know why that is.
That is a weird one.
I just feel like a 58 sounds like there's going to be caveats. Same as, and again, sounds crazy, I've said this before, I would rather have a hole-in-one on a par 3 than a par 4. And I don't know why. If Matt came in at the weekend, next week, and Matt walks into the podcast, he says, guess what? Well, we'd already know, but he says, guess what? Had a hole-in-one at the weekend. Third hole, par 3, 150 yards, hit a 7-iron, hard as I could, hit an 9-iron. It went in. Well in, mate. If he said, I had a hole-in-one at the weekend on a par 4, start to get a little bit questionable. Okay, what happened? Oh, well, it was wintergreen. It was yellow tees. It was. There's got to be.
You questioned that, my friend Jake, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. We were right. Wasn't this what was the caveat to Jake's?
There's no caveats.
There was. What was the caveat to Jake's?
There was no caveats.
The 100% there was forward tees or something. There was something, wasn't there? You remember?
Yeah.
There was something. What was it? Tell us,
Matt. A bucket winter hole or something.
What was it? Was it the second ball or something?
No.
There was a caveat.
Just a straight hole-in-one.
No, there wasn't. There was a caveat. That's a weird fact about me.
That is weird.
Would you not?
I actually get what you're saying there, to be fair, because you semi-expect a hole-in-one on a par 3. Whereas you never stand on a drivable par 4 and think, this could go in. It's like, I could hit the green here.
Correct.
Whereas you stand on a par 3, and the amount of times, like in America, when we were filming out there, you hit a ball, and everyone was like, oh, go in. It's like, there's a chance.
Yeah.
There's a higher chance. I get what you're saying, but hole-in-one on a par 4 would be cool.
Well, let's say if you did it at 10th at the Brabazon.
Yeah, but you're just happy to hit the green, aren't you? You're not expecting it to go in.
If you get it in.
Yeah, but you're not
there's
aiming for
nothing
the hole.
that you play off the back tees. it was a proper hole, and you got a hole on the 10th hole, one of the most famous holes in the UK. Compared to getting a par 3 at bloody Pennington Flash.
Yeah, but you're making little tweaks here.
Yeah.
What's that nice par 3 with the water at Brabazon? The one with the really hard holes before it.
7.
Yeah. A nice crisp 8-iron on that, tracking the flag all the way. Bit of spin, bit of
that's
sauce,
nice,
rips in.
Because then,
just
you know if there's
innit?
a big slope behind the green, you'll go, right, I'm going to play this into the back bank, bit of spin, pull it back in the hole-in-one. Whereas if you stood there trying to hit onto the green on the par 4, you're not going to go, right, I'm just going to cut this in, use the bank, contour it back in. It's just luck, isn't it, if it goes in on a par 4? Not that I'm taking it away.
I think we're winning Rick Round here. I think
No, you're not. I'm trying to come up with a question to ask you, guy, around this 58 or 59.
Oh, yeah.
So basically,
Yeah, I don't get that one.
So basically,
you know what it is? Last thing on this. I think it's because, although they're both very rare, if you ever hear a 58, it's always done like a par 70, which is fine. Still an amazing round of golf. And to be fair, a lot of the 59s are done on 72, 71. But I think when I hear someone shot a 59, my first protocol is, was it a par 72? And if it is, it's like, that's a real one.
See, Patrick Reed's wasn't.
Yeah, they never are really. It's so hard.
Bryson
Is 50,
was that a par 71?
I don't think
it wasn't par 72.
Whereas if like a 58, it's even more obvious that it can't have been. That's the only thing.
I think the other challenge.
Sorry, Bryson.
I think the other challenge often is this idea that, was it a 70? Is the golf course actually a par 70 normally? Because a lot of the time, as you'll know, like they'll play a par 5 into a par 4.
So it's a 72, really.
So it might be for you, me, we're going to play it as a 71 or 72, but for tour, it's a par 70.
Yeah.
And they've still shot 58.
Look, I like going shooting 82, right? A nice clean cut 82. Par 72.
Let's be honest, I don't think you've got any worries. I don't think you've got
58 on the front nine.
any worries about your predicament, guy.
Last question then. Would you rather shoot level par, 18 pars, or 9 bogeys, 9 pars in any random formation? So you could go par, birdie. No, sorry, you could go birdie, bogey, birdie, bogey, birdie, bogey. So it ends up being equal to level. Or
I'd rather do that.
You should shot 18. See, I'd rather do 18 pars.
Yeah, I'd go 18 pars.
See, why?
Because imagine going, I had 9 birdies today and I only shot level. You've had the best.
But the potential.
Which I've blown.
Yeah, but then you've got the potential to do that.
Then
Call it Bernard Langer.
You've got the potential to shoot a 59. If you can have 9 birdies, you go, I had 9 birdies. Yeah, I had 9 bogeys, but I shot level. Imagine if I didn't have the bogeys. Where if you shot,
that's what would drive me insane.
If you shot 18 pars, you go, and you'd got lucky to make some pars on some holes.
Yeah, but what if you lipped out 9 times for a birdie? And you got 9 pars.
But nobody
instead.
knows that.
No, I'd like to have a nice clean scorecard.
Yeah, it looks nice, innit?
I don't.
18 pars is good.
I'd rather go out 9 over and then shoot 9 under back.
But what the other way though? You shoot 9 under front 9. You like literally ringing everyone. Stop what you're doing. I'm 9 under through 9. Oh my god, Rick!
I'm gonna shoot a 58.
What did you shoot? Oh, level. Because that's the reality.
Yeah, but that's I love that drama. I love the sub story. Because let's be honest, after you say, "Oh, I shot level in 18 pars," there's literally no follow up questions.
I'll tell you what would be good is shooting 9 bogeys, being 9 over, and then shooting 9 birdies. I could see the excitement there.
I remember when in 2013, I got back into playing a lot of golf. I finished university, joined back at the golf club, and properly got back into playing and got a handicap back. I'm trying to find it now. I'm putting it on Facebook. One of my very, very first comps back, I had to do a few scorecards, and they put me off 6, which was probably about right at the time. And I remember playing in a comp, see if I can find it. And I'm sure my front 9 was 3 under through 9 holes, which I was so happy with, obviously. And then the back 9 was like 6 over. And it was just heartbreaking that, like, yes, there's something in there, but I can't finish my dinner. And it wasn't nice, Rick. So I
like the drama.
I felt that to a degree. I'm seeing if I can find a scorecard now. I probably can't, but
I'll be
yeah, there we go. This is it. I found it now. Oh, no, sorry. I've completely made that up. This is why it's good to find it. My front 9 was level par, 34. My back 9 was 9 over. I've got it here.
I like how you've gone from 3
Yeah,
under.
but I knew it was something drastic. It was the 21st of May, 2013, and I put, 11 years ago, story of my golfing career, level par, front 9, 9 over, back 9, puffed.
Right, here's another interesting one.
Yeah, there we go.
That guy is feeling sad.
Yeah.
Would you rather...
Go on.
shoot a 73 or a 72? Sorry, a 73 or a 74. Okay, but there's caveats.
Am I saying yes now or not?
Right, no, not yet. Your 73 was 17 pars and you bogeyed the last. Okay, that's your 73.
Yeah.
Your 74, you doubled the first, but you parred all
74 all day long. Would you not?
I don't know.
Oh, I would.
Well, you've done the first one, Rick.
I have done the first
King's
one.
Barnes.
I made a birdie.
Because this is the thing with golf. There's the score side of it. Now, on paper, clearly the lower score is better. But there's that mental side of I've gone double bogey and then gone, right, that's it. I'm going to turn this on. 17 pars in a row. Or the flip side is you've gone 17 pars in a row, shaking knees on 18, got a bit nervous and got a bogey. You were a man or a mouse. And that's what the scorecard tells you. And I want to be a man, not a mouse.
By shooting one worse.
The vibe in the clubhouse would be terrible after bogey in the last, though, wouldn't it?
That'd be horrendous.
Can you imagine being sat there going, oh, great, bogey the last.
What about last one? This is going to make no sense now. You come second in the club championship. No, I can't think. I can't work it out. I'm trying to say something like you shoot 72-70 and come second, or you shoot 65-73. I don't even know if this makes sense anymore. So basically, you win club championships, which is great, but you really see your ass second day, and you still win it in the end by like a shot, but you really let yourself down.
So you went out the gates hot.
Yes, correct. And then a bad
crumbled.
second round, but still won because you were so far ahead, just win. Whereas the guy that comes second had an all right first day, but he was out of it because the first guy was so far ahead. Then he had an even better second day, but just pipped out by a shot.
Yeah, still the winner.
I think it is still. I think it's getting silly.
I think it's still.
Would you rather win £1 million or lose a fiver?
I think the thing is with that club champion one, it's like, yeah, well, I just cruised the second day.
Yeah,
I didn't need to shoot another 65.
You went out, had a few sherries the night
exactly.
before to celebrate.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out Guy's new hairstyle. And, it's the only way we're going to get views these days. And we'll see you
Friday?
next time, Friday.
See you Friday, little audio special at Clubhouse.
If we remember.
We'll do it right now. Should we do it now? Quickly? 10 minutes? 20 minutes? Or are we saving it? What are you doing, Rick? Saving it?
Let's do it now. Got him sat down in the chair.
Go on then, we'll do it now.
See you Friday.